Air. They made the universe. The four basic elements of the ancient Greeks. These indivisible building blocks of matter gripped the imagination of the alchemists who founded chemistry and metallurgy as we know them. The alchemist hoped to change base metals into gold by searching among the elements for a mysterious something to turn the trick. And as with our scientists, he had his laboratory where he delved into the mysteries. Friend and counselor to emperor and king, the alchemist, as with the scientist in our day, stood at the center of great enterprises. His book of wonders was thought to hold the secrets of the earth. Alas, the key to unlock them was not found. The gold eluded him. But at least the alchemist had the dream. In fact, but for the alchemists, there would probably not be our industrial world with all its wonders. And so this world, our world, is the realization of the alchemist's dream. Here is a laboratory no alchemist would have been able to comprehend. Yet, as in his cell, the pursuit here is for what the alchemist called prime matter, in the sense of the Earth's deposits of hydrocarbons. Let us read the book of Earth aright. So spoke the alchemist. And so say the technicians and experimenters here outside of Houston, Texas. Geologists, paleontologists, seismologists, and geophysicists. Earth scientists all. The Superior Oil Company's Geophysical Research Laboratory is the pivot of a worldwide program of exploration and production to meet the demand for hydrocarbons and their products. To Houston from South Africa come progress reports of explorations in a nation so endowed with mineral wealth that its glittering metropolis is literally built on a gold foundation. No wonder a nation so blessed with subsoil riches memorializes the men who made them possible. Today in South Africa, one finds men who are making possible the realization of yet another natural resource. They are oil men, employed by companies engaged in an exploratory venture in the Indian Ocean, 40 miles offshore from the southern tip of Africa. The self-propelled drilling vessel operated by the Superior Oil Company is stationed in 400 feet of water above an undersea formation pinpointed by the scientists of the Geophysical Research Laboratory. Drilling a well is a closely monitored operation. Only time will tell how accurately they have read the Book of Earth aright. The navigator makes certain that the open well amidships, with the derrick towering above it, remains above the spot chosen by the geophysicists, and this for weeks at a time and in all kinds of weather. Drilling at sea with all its variables of port and starboard, yaw, pitch and drift, wind and wave and tide, takes on the character of a game of space chess played for very high stakes. Seagoing oilmen take frequent trips beneath the surface of the ocean for a close-up, on-the-spot inspection of the blowout preventers and other well completion equipment. And so, watched over down in the depths below, as well as by the crew topside, and by engineers and executives from half the world away, the drilling ship in the Indian Ocean remains on station until the truth is known. Whether it's the continent of Africa, offshore or on the land, whether it's the oil-rich nations of South America or the Australian subcontinent, it's one small world for the Superior Oil Company. Sydney is the usual gateway city to Down Under land with all its wonders.
Skippy, Skippy, Skippy the bush kangaroo.
Such tourist sites are a prelude for oilmen coming to Australia aboard a seagoing craft, which at first glance seems as outlandish as Kon-Tiki. Under tow from a shipyard in Hiroshima, Japan, the semi-submersible drilling platform, Sedco rig number 135G, after a 2,100-mile voyage, now approaches journey's end above an anticline in the Australian continental shelf, which Earth scientists believe promising for exploration. With controls as sophisticated as any on the bridge of an ocean liner, the huge rig will be maneuvered into place by flooding the hollow caissons. Within hours, the mammoth tripod rests securely on the ocean bottom offshore from Darwin, straddling precisely the hole to be. From nearby New Guinea, where in the Gulf of Papua, the company drills for oil, we move around the world to the North Sea off the English coast. London is in contact with the Houston Research Laboratory, which would have astonished such English men of science and alchemy as Roger Bacon and Sir Isaac Newton. In East Anglia, 70 miles from London, oil company copters scud back and forth across the shallow North Sea to the landing pad of a lonely gas production platform offshore from Great Yarmouth. From recently developed wells controlled by the equipment on this central platform, raw gas flows to a processing plant on the coast 20 miles away. This new plant, serving East Anglia and southern Scotland, helps fill the economic void caused by the phasing out of the once famed Great Yarmouth herring fleet due to the overfishing of North Sea waters. Across the Atlantic in Canada, on the Gaspé Peninsula, far off the tourist circuit, the land will soon be changed because of a prospector from McIntyre Porcupine Mines, a company with which Superior Oil and its subsidiary, Canadian Superior, are associated. This young geologist seeks to read the Book of Earth aright. Doing so, he gets down to the nitty-gritty, and here is what he finds: prime matter, copper. Finding an ore body is merely the start. Before mining can begin, surface buildings must be constructed for processing the ore. All must be planned to move forward on schedule, so that when the plant finally comes on stream, not only the mining company, but the province and the entire nation may profit from the enterprise. West from the Gaspé at Timmins, Ontario, is the McIntyre copper mine. Timmins once yielded gold, such as the royal masters of the old alchemists would have envied. Still mineral rich, Ontario's Precambrian shield lies far below. Under the autumn sun north of Calgary, province of Alberta, next to the processing plant of the Canadian Superior Oil Company, rises a 56,000-ton stockpile of sulfur. Here it is manufactured from sour gas welling up from the Mississippian geological zone underlying this part of Alberta. Sulfur today is essential to 17 basic industries. Centuries ago, it caught the imagination of the alchemists. Due to its golden color, they associated it with the sun. How Green Was My Valley? It was a novel about coal and men, a story being repeated in Alberta's Smoky River Valley. Over brand new tracks and roadbed, financed by the Dominion government, the mining company brings in a special passenger train with officials and reporters for an on-the-spot inspection tour. Henceforth, as the visitors are told, the trains will be long unit trains running on a 4-day round-trip schedule to Vancouver, when Smoky River's high-grade metallurgical coal goes overseas to expanding industrial nations. Having read the Book of Earth aright, geologists know the seams here can last 100 years. Smoky River Valley will be Canada's largest underground mining operation. The locating and planning of the new town are undertaken by the provincial government. Site and plan approved, the company finances houses, the hospital, and other community buildings. The cost of roads is shared between government and company. Thus, returning from the day's inspection, the chief representatives of the two partners in the bright future of this part of Canada exchange views on the unfolding story of Smoky River Valley. For the present, Alaska is the in-place for oil exploration activity. Offshore from Anchorage in the Cook Inlet, an exploratory well is being drilled right next to a well already producing, both on the same platform. Mindful of Alaskan discoveries already made and of potential discoveries still to come, the Earth scientists in Houston push ahead with their worldwide effort to read the Book of Earth aright. At their disposal is laboratory apparatus quite beyond the dreams of their predecessors, the alchemists. The most efficient computer is the human brain. It was all that Archimedes had, or Paracelsus, whose calculations and alchemical concepts shook mankind. Information for the computer is only as dependable as the machines and men gathering it in the field. The Superior Oil Company's seismograph fabrication shop is perhaps the most progressive in the industry. This amphibious vehicle for oil and gas explorations, the Marsh Buggy, is built to the company's own specifications. We are in the Louisiana marshlands near the Gulf of Mexico. Gravity meters have disclosed underground configurations. Now comes the seismic stage of exploration, when energy from a source is released and recorded electronically. First, the instrument crew plants sensitive geophones, or jugs, laying them out in a grid of straight lines to cover an area 6 to 10 miles square. The energy source is detonated, shooting the line, they call it. The tape picking up from the spaced-out geophones, the sound waves reverberating through the formations of the subsoil. On many a margin of the world, as in the Louisiana salt marshes, seismograph crews are rolling up a record of what may lie in the strata down below. The electronic tapes from out in the field, called seismograms, are the source documents of the petroleum industry. With them, Earth scientists can determine substructures favorable to the accumulation of oil or gas. Back at the lab, from whatever point of the compass a tape arrives, the information is promptly translated from the digital recording language of the field to the analog language of a computer that will read out the data in visual form. The final stage, a photographic process, takes place within a darkroom, and the readout is a cross-section of part of the Earth's crust, an electronic chart of sediments and rock formations. Due to computer technology, the Book of Earth is laid open to the interpreter in scope, clarity, and detail unthought of before the marriage of electronic and geophysical science. And now, as a sequel in the Louisiana salt marshes, the four-decked drilling barge, the W.M. Keck Sr., built for missions in wetland areas, celebrates its 51st day at a site scouted less than a year ago by a marsh buggy-equipped seismograph crew. With the easy rhythm of experience, the drilling crew proceeds to make hole at a satisfactory rate, as today the rock bit sinks below 16,000 feet. Though intended for inland work, the barge is seagoing and can be moved anywhere under tow. In the Gulf of Mexico, offshore from where the drilling barge sinks an exploratory well, is a gas production platform. Algae and barnacles on the legs attract small fish, which in turn bring larger ones. With some 6,000 platforms in the Gulf, commercial fishing has increased by 700 million pounds. To the central platform flows crude gas from over 20 wells. Hole to platform, platform to shore, the production matches the capacity of the gas processing plant in Lowry, Louisiana, 70 miles away. Here, the old alchemist might recognize shapes and forms. From his alembic and furnace derive the strippers, absorbers, and exchangers of today. Fire, he was its master, and so are the engineers at Lowry. Within these miles of pipes and vessels of every shape and size, the molecules in the gas are heated, cooled, pressurized, flashed, and vaporized as 5 products are stripped out or distilled: propane, isobutane, normal butane, natural gasoline, and diesel fuel. The remaining methane then flows into pipelines for transmission and distribution. Production. The alchemist would have termed the Earth's crude oil prime matter, and in his day, as in ours, no prime matter was ever wasted. Conservation. The pump station on a production site in Colorado forces water underground to bring up crude oil, which due to a decline in natural pressure would otherwise be lost. The flow of crude pushed to the surface by water flooding has extended the life of this field for years. Production from prime matter. Surely the Earth's surface is prime matter, and of no less potential value than the underground. Today in California's San Joaquin Valley, the oil company, through a farming subsidiary, works a once quite barren land so that it will produce and bring forth food for many thousands of people. Water is the first requirement. To the oil well driller, even the deepest water well seems but a minor challenge. Through electronic controls, the flow of life-giving water is directed to where it's needed, when it's needed, from the central reservoir. Pipes are laid on the ground to irrigate some crops. while others, the permanent crops, such as fruit and nut trees, call for an irrigation system that is deeply ditched. Long before the irrigation pipes here were bedded down, the farm company's professional team selected young prune trees for over 800 acres. Of a special budwood and rootstock, they produce fruit for juice and drying. Yield, 8,000 pounds per acre. Over 1 million people will eventually be supplied. Looking ahead, the planning of every detail. For example, preparing the seed potatoes for planting in the right soil at the right time, and fueling the battery of machines for a long day's work. All this means advanced preparation, much of it paperwork. The production of vast quantities of food for huge populations demands streamlined techniques from industry, in addition to the farmer's traditional sense of nature. In Texas, food for people is a theme stressed by another of the companies. Here, the prime matter is lean red meat. His name is Tarzan IV. He's a prince of his line, or really a Raja, for part of his ancestry is Brahma from India, a legacy endowing the Santa Gertrudis with resistance to heat and ticks. In tropical climates, the meat from this breed is as heavy and firm as in temperate zones. Texans are proud of the Santa Gertrudis breed, the one pure breed ever developed in the United States and named for the original Texas land grant from the Crown of Spain. Animal husbandry experts from the university come to check up on Tarzan IV and his progeny. One of several research studies in which our company participates, the inquiry is into the growth, development, and fertility of Santa Gertrudis cattle. Statistics, pedigrees especially, are vital data for cattle breeders. At auctions, the animals which fetch the highest prices, those showing the best performance, are the purest bred. These fine animals embody but one aspect of the Superior Oil Company's total commitment to prime matter: hydrocarbons, minerals, plus the fruits of agriculture, as well as cattle. A wide-ranging yet quite logical combination, since they all stem from the good earth. The alchemist knew how such earthy elements combine. When air, earth, fire, and water were conjoined in his crucible, life ensued, or so he thought. And so it is with a ranch geneticist making insemination ampules to ship throughout the world. In each, life, Tarzan IV, prime matter, springs potentially at hand. The honeybee is the farming company's geneticist, nature's agent, cross-pollinating male and female in its flight, tree to tree, flower to flower. The farming company's now super-productive lands in a once underdeveloped California valley spread over 10,000 acres. In every field, with whatever crop, all rows run north and south for optimum sun and yield. Throughout the citrus groves tower strange objects, frost protection devices. On frosty nights, they fire up, their rotating flames warming the air, blowing it out over the citrus trees. Horticulture on a grand scale demands, of course, some rather spectacular methods. Today they are fertilizing the groves with ammonium nitrate, square mile after mile. Harvest time, the time of promise. From the preparing of the land, the finding of water, seed planting, irrigating and fertilizing, the protecting of growing things against weed, pest, and disease will pay off. At each stage in the cycle, a mechanized farm tool does the work. Harvest time. For citrus, it's almost the year round. And from each of the more than 1,000 acres the farming company plants to oranges and tangelos, each year almost 50,000 pounds of vitamin-rich fruit is harvested, enough to sustain over 700 persons per acre, almost 1 million people from this one citrus grove alone. 10 tons of fruit are picked on each of the more than 400 acres the farming company gives over to grapevines. At 4 pounds of grapes per person, from a single acre, 5,000 people are supplied. Almonds, the pride of the farm. Some 3,000 pounds of nuts per acre are harvested with mechanical innovations. Today, this gourmet crop supplies the fancies of over 4 million persons annually. No more chopping cotton. In October, machines move in to pick the cotton. With a harvest of 4 cotton bales an acre, 1,000 people may be clothed. Potatoes were the first crop of the San Joaquin Valley when water first came in. Now the farming company harvests about 40,000 pounds of potato from every acre. Eons away from the pebble-sized tuber that was the original potato is the big baking potato of today. Yet the change that has come about between the first and ultimate potato is also a measure of the difference between old ways of farming and those of this ultra-modern enterprise. Here is embodied the new agriculture, wherein the grower's plans are geared to the needs of the customer, to market demands. To succeed in agriculture, the area in which, with mining, this independent oil company has now diversified, an accurate reading of the market is as indispensable as being able to read the book of earth aright. Man's hope today is still to turn the earth's prime matter into gold. But whereas through technology, we have run the distance in solving many of the mysteries the alchemist hoped to solve but never did, at least he, grandfather of chemistry and metallurgy in his time, first sparked the dream that we now see coming true.